Welcome back to the Atypical Hunter podcast. I'm host Chris Begbie. Today we have Seth Trokey on the line with us. Seth is the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and just an all-around awesome guy. He's been hunting and fishing pretty much his entire life and has a breadth of knowledge on way more things than I do regarding conservation and land management and accessibility to land. In this episode, we talk about the BHA, a little bit about why it was formed and what the organization is doing to help conserve public lands and public land access, not just for hunters and anglers, but for people that just like to be outside and enjoy the outdoors, especially people that want to ensure that future generations have access to the beautiful resources that we currently have. If you're not a member of the BHA, I would highly encourage it, and if you for whatever reason don't want to join, at the very least give them a follow on Instagram or Facebook. You learn a lot just by seeing what they're doing and the amazing efforts they're putting into making sure that the resources we have will be around for a long time to come. Sit back, enjoy the episode, and make sure you have your thinking caps on. All right, everybody, we've got Seth Trokey on the line with us here. He is the chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We're really excited to have him on the podcast today. How's it going, Seth?
Good. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited to have you on. I'm a new member of BHA. I guess it's probably easier acronym to use than the full title, but I'm a new member of it. I've been kind of immersing myself into the website and all the awesome stuff that the organization does and puts together. So I was really excited to have you on. That's a big part of why I kind of wanted to start getting into more of the hunting aspect of things, is because I started having more of appreciation for public lands and making sure that things are taken care of the right way. So I was really excited to find the organization and, like I mentioned, to talk to you. So appreciate you taking some time. But would love to get into a bit about you, some of your background, and then we can get into the BHA if that works for you.
Yeah, sounds good, and thanks for being a member for sure. Illinois has a pretty good amount of members, so I think it's pretty awesome that you're a member already.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of and just kind of wrap my head around and hands around, what the organization was doing and that sort of thing. But what got you linked up with BHA?
So I've been north my whole life, living in rural southwestern Illinois. I've been fishing and mushroom hunting basically my whole life. I began hunting around age 10. I've been a member of BHA since about 2012. So Meat Eater kind of got me interested and made me start looking into what BHA actually was and what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I got involved with BHA. I signed up with the $25 a year membership and been a member ever since.
Nice. So you've been a member since 2012, and I guess now we have the Illinois chapter of BHA. How did that progression sort of take place?
It's kind of a funny story. So one of my buddies from college lives out in Colorado,
mm-hmm.
and he got tickets to the Meat Eater podcast live in June or July of 18. So went out there to watch it, got in our seat and looked in front of me, and I tapped my buddy. I was like, "Is that Land Pawnee sitting right in front of us?" He's like, "Yeah, I think it is." So before the show started, I went I just came out just for this. He's like, he thought it was pretty cool that people would come all the way from Illinois out there just to see the Meat Eater podcast stuff. So I asked him, I said, how do we get an Illinois chapter going? He's smart guy, so he knew that how many members that Illinois already had, and it was in the 200 already before we even had a chapter, before anything was even thought of. So he gave me Ty Stubblefield's email address, who is the new chapter coordinator for like new states or Canadian provinces, whatever. And he said, email Ty. If he doesn't answer, keep emailing him. He's a busy man. And that's kind of how it happened. I just emailed Ty, kept reaching out. Like I said, we already had a couple hundred members, which is more than a lot of states have now. So we had a good foundation to start from, so that was pretty cool. And then after Ty and I started talking, we got our kind of board going, got our board together, and then started the process of becoming an official chapter.
Okay, and what did that entail? Is that making sure you have enough members signing up for events and things, or is that just more you doing a bunch of paperwork and getting all that stuff done?
There's several things to that. You have to write a letter of intent, kind of basically explaining the issues in your state, what you think you guys, your chapter can tackle and help with. We did a couple pint nights and events before. They wanted that. That was like one of the things they wanted to see.
Just to make sure there's enough support out there and people showing up and things.
Yeah, that and I think kind of seeing, kind of making sure everybody was serious about it,
Right. So that's cool. So, I mean, Illinois just opened up their chapter, what, a month ago? Is that right?
It was like 2.5, 3 months ago.
2.5, 3 months ago.
Is when we became official.
Awesome. And, it's great to see them, or to see Illinois on the website and everything, and see how it's expanding. I notice there's a lot of new states that are on there, and I'm pretty new to Illinois. I've only been here for a little over a year now, so I'm kind of still getting my feet underneath me and figuring out where I can go and where I can't go and things like that. But I'm sure the organization is going to be real helpful with that. But to back up a little bit, I'd love to just get an idea about and help the listeners understand why BHA was started in the first place.
In Illinois or BHA in general?
Just in general.
Basically, it started around a campfire, guys talking about conservation and public land, public waters, and keeping public land, public water in public hands. Since then, it's progressed pretty quickly, and we have chapters in like 43 states and 3 or 4 Canadian provinces. Pretty easy to get the Illinois chapter going. Illinois is only 3% of public land, so protecting what we have in Illinois and possibly expanding on that with programs like IRAP, which is Illinois Recreational Successful Program, which farmers allow hunters or fishermen to come in on their land to hunt or fish.
That's awesome. Is that true that only that's really only 3% of Illinois' public land?
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, we're like Iowa and like Texas. I think 95% private. So we want to protect what we have, and we want to expand it if at all possible. I think we have like 285,000 acres in Shawnee, and then throughout the rest of the state, maybe another. I think it's under 100,000 more acres that are public.
Right. Yeah. I mean, me and Kyle, we live in Riverside, Illinois, which is about 10, 11 miles west of Chicago. And for us to get to public land is very difficult, to say it lightly. I mean, we have the Middlewind Tallgrass Prairie land, if you're familiar with that, which is probably an hour away. And that's not that much. I mean, you have maybe 500 to 1,000 acres there of public land, but then the next closest decent amount of public land is 2 to 3 hour drive. So
Yeah.
it's definitely that was kind of eye opening to me. I figured, I'm moving to the Midwest from the East Coast. There's going to be public land everywhere, and I was very shocked when it was pretty much just as difficult to find as it was in New Jersey where I grew up. Um, so I'm hoping that this BHA can continue to advocate for people like us in the Midwest and everywhere really, and get public land back in public hands. I think that's a great way to do things and great mission for the organization as a whole. I mean, what are you guys doing to try to maybe not take over private land, but try to get land back in public hands? How does our helping hunters have access?
Yeah. So the cool thing about IRAP is the farmers choose how many hunters they want on their farm during what season. The farmer can choose, for example, I want deer-only hunters in October, or whatever it might be, small game. It could be fishing, it could be anything. So they will cover the liability insurance. Say the farmer gives you permission to hunt to his place
Mm-hmm.
through this program. You sign a waiver. The farmer has no
Liability or anything.
Yeah, liability, obligation, or responsibility to greater people or whatever. So
Right.
that's a cool thing. So yeah, that's definitely a cool thing that we're trying to get more involved with.
How do hunters and anglers and people like that? How do they find? Is there a list somewhere that they can access, or how would one go about that?
Actually, on the IDNR website,
Mm-hmm.
there's a sign up, and they made it easier this year. You can do it electronically. So, say you want to deer hunt in the Chicagoland area, maybe down south or in between.
Mm-hmm.
So you personally can fill out an application, and there's two sections of the season. There's October-ish part, and then the November section.
Mm-hmm.
So you could fill out, I want to hunt in Lake County, Madison County, and Jackson County in the October section, and then you could pick 3 different counties in the November section, or 3 of the same counties, or however you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put, I want deer hunt, duck hunt, rabbit hunt, squirrel hunt, whatever. And it's kind of like a lottery, I guess. And I think the applications have to be in by the middle of next month.
All right, so I got to do that pretty soon then if I want to get in there.
Yeah, I actually did it a couple weeks ago for the first time, so I'm anxious and hopeful to see what happens.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a really awesome program. I mean, when I first moved here and was looking to, so my background is I've been a fisherman my whole life, but hunting is newer to me. So looking around trying to find places to hunt was a little daunting in the beginning, especially realizing there wasn't as much public land here as I had anticipated. And I just started basically calling people that I found to be landowners and asking if they would let me hunt. And I called probably like 30 people, and none of them said yes, basically. So having that resource, I can imagine would make it so much easier I mean, you're already are the farmers making any money off of this or anything along those lines, or they just understand that people want to hunt and they think it's good for the land and they want to give access back to the people or something?
I believe they have some incentives for the landowners. I'm not exactly sure what they are.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a lot with a man named Jared Duquette that works for IDNR, and he's helping us a lot with that. I could definitely find out more about that for you.
Right. Well, that sounds like a great program for sure.
No, it's really cool, especially since most of Illinois is private.
Right.
And getting the word out to landowners that don't know about it is huge, and it's really taken off in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that opens up. The more it's just kind of exponential, right? The more people that hear about it, the more people do it, and then more people hear about it, and more people do it, and it just builds and builds and builds. And hopefully that allows more and more access for everybody that's looking to do what they love to do and that sort of thing. Is there any? I mean, I know obviously BHA is geared towards hunters and anglers and things, but should people that don't hunt or fish? I mean, is this an organization that would be good for non-hunters and fishermen or anglers to join? Is it kind of all inclusive there?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Anybody that cares about outdoors, clean air, clean water, should be involved with groups like BHA or 2% for Conservation or Pheasants Forever. That's a huge one that we're starting to work with in Illinois, because Pheasants Forever does a lot, most of their work on private land,
right?
Such as like stuff with pollinators and planting food for pheasants and quail, stuff like that. So we have a really good relationship with them. We were at Pheasant Fest this past February, had a booth up there. It was awesome. They were great, and we're going to be working with them a lot in the future.
That's great. I can't remember where I read this, but is it true that the game bird populations are extremely low right now in Illinois?
I think they're trending low a lot of places, just from what I've heard and done a little bit of research. And it's a habitat thing, which Pheasants Forever is amazing at. But where I live, I see it all the time. Like, I'm seeing farmers tear out windrows and tree lines to get 3 or 4 extra rows of corn. And it breaks my heart, because I see, that's habitat for countless animals, bugs, birds, everything.
Well, it's got to be a tough conversation or balance to have with people. I mean, especially farmers, when land is their livelihood. They have to weigh, if I get these 3 more rows of corn in here, is that going to help me and my family, or should I think about the greater good? And I mean, I imagine that's a tough sell for some people to think about, right? And I guess the mission of the organization is to sort of educate people on why it's important to keep the habitat and things like that. I mean, how do you guys approach people when they're doing things like that?
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like, a lot of them it's my livelihood. I want, to do as good as I can. And I get that, and BHA gets that. Pheasants Forever, people like that get that. It's just about, like you said, education. Letting them know that there's programs out there that, like IRAP, and there's programs out there through Pheasants Forever that will help them plant habitat and keep windrows and edge habitat, instead of the clean farming where there's nothing. There's just field to field, no fence rows, no nothing.
Right.
And just basically educating, because it's kind of a new thing in Illinois, especially for the landowners that I know from around where I live. I don't think most of them know about the IRAP and the Pheasants Forever stuff. So and the stuff that BHA wants to do. So.
Well, I know I'm new to Illinois, but it's definitely the first that I had heard of the program, and that's probably the best method is to incentivize the farmers to do that, and maybe they look at it and say, maybe I'm not making as much as I could have if I added another 3-4 rows of corn, but it's pretty close or something like that, and I'm doing something good for everyone instead of just myself. That's probably the best way to come at it, I would imagine.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So how do you get the word out? I mean, what's the best method to reach these farmers and private landowners?
We're working, like I said, we're working with the group at IRAP. They kind of head up talking to landowners. We will support them any way that we can. Like I said, I think it's only a couple years old, so we're figuring it all out. They're figuring it all out, and figuring out the best ways and best practices to approach the landowners to get access for hunting and fishing.
Right. To shift gears a little bit, does the organization work with coastal waters at all, or is it pretty much only inland streams and lakes and rivers and things of that nature?
BHA works with coastal waters for sure. Like in the case of Florida, I mean, I don't know if you've seen much about that, but with the algae blooms and stuff, and the rediversion of water throughout the state, and the effects that that's had. I'm not sure if there's we only go so far out in the ocean. You know what I mean?
Right.
One of those deals like the borders of the shoreline, the ocean stuff. But yeah, it's a huge deal. The fisheries, the marine life, BHA cares about all that stuff, and we want to keep it all around and keep it as good as we can.
Right. So overall, I mean, the organization is really just about keeping the environment as clean and accessible to everyone as possible, regardless of really where it is or what type of land or water it is, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Accessibility is a huge thing, too. We don't just want public land. We want to be able to go there and recreate and do what we like to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I mean, I've noticed that there's a ton of public land that's inaccessible because they're surrounded by private land or farms or residences or something of that nature. Is that a big problem in Illinois, or is that more Western United States type problems?
I think that's more of a Western problem than Illinois. Illinois is so broken up into small sections and big sections, and then there'll be. If you look at Onyx maps or something of Shawnee National Forest, there'll be a huge block of national forest and then a 40-acre chunk right in the middle,
right,
and a private, and a 40-acre chunk over here right in the middle of private. So I think that's more of a Western problem. But I know BHA works with groups like RMEF to try to get easement and access to stuff like that.
Right. Now, I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of politics involved with the public land access and keeping things public and things of that nature. I mean, do you guys have a presence in D.C. where you're lobbying for public land and things of that nature, or is it sort of more local grassroots type of movements?
BHA sent several people to D.C. over several issues over the past few years. There's the Pebble mine in Alaska, and then there's the mine in the Boundary Waters that they're wanting to build. So,
and And that's about the salmon issues that are going on up there, right?
What's that?
That's about the salmon issues that are going on up there, where there's
Yeah, that's Bristol Bay, Alaska, so it's the biggest salmon fishery in the world, and they're wanting to put a mine really close to it.
mm-hmm.
So, and with the world's largest tailing pond, and the tailing pond is all the horrible, nasty, poisonous water from a mine. So if that dam, whatever breach or something, whatever happens to that tailing pond, it would destroy the largest salmon fishery in the world.
Right.
So, like BHA isn't against mining or extraction of natural gas or oil or anything. They just want it done. We just want it done in the right places.
Right.
And that's not the right place.
Yeah.
Same with the boundary waters in Minnesota. It's the most visited, I think, national park in the United States. So they have over like 1 million visitors a year. And an Argentinian company wants to build a like copper gold mine right at the headwaters of the boundary waters.
Right. Which, if anything goes wrong there, it would affect pretty much everything else, essentially.
Yeah, and today I just saw an article from my friend Spencer Shaver, who is a member of BHA and one of the board members for Sportsmen for Boundary Waters.
Mm-hmm.
And he posted something today that said that the mining company wants to move their operation even closer to the headwaters of the boundary waters than before.
Wow. So that's really pressing. I imagine there's a lot of people that aren't very happy about that. I mean, how does somebody, get involved with, voicing their opinion about whether they, want or don't want that or something along those lines? I guess the overall question would be, how do you get involved with BHA, or how would you recommend someone doing something like that?
So do a little research. Follow the groups like Sportsmen for Boundary Waters and the Pebble Mine.
Mm-hmm.
So like today I went on the Pebble Mine site and emailed our Illinois officials about I wasn't happy with that. And I emailed the Illinois officials that I wasn't happy about the Boundary Waters mine. So that's like a small thing you can do. It's really easy. It takes a couple minutes, but it doesn't matter. It really matters if you call and tell your elected officials your opinion and get involved in conservation. Join a group. It doesn't necessarily have to be DHA, but there are several out there, like I said. 2% for Conservation is a great one. Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership is a great one. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever. There's a lot of good groups that if you just do a little research, see what they do, see where they spend their money, you can easily get involved. And before we started the chapter, I was just like a regular BHA member. I'm thinking mostly Western stuff. And then over time, I started noticing things here that matter too. So just get involved. However you can get involved, whether it's going out and picking up trash at your local trail that you walk every day or once a week, or starting a conservation group in your state like we did. All of it's important, and we all need to do everything we can to keep what we have.
Right, exactly. The interesting thing to me is, I have a very few amount of friends that are hunting and fishing friends, especially being so near Chicago. It's a pretty more left-leaning hub of the country, I would say. And there's a ton of people that I talk to that are super into protecting the environment and making sure that things are kept in the public's hands and things like that. But um, I think the problem not necessarily a problem, but the challenge maybe for BHA is that it has hunters in the name where all of these people I talk to would absolutely love the program because of what they're doing for conservation for the environment and making sure that things are conserved in the proper way. I mean, what would you recommend someone like me talking to people that aren't hunters and anglers to do? I mean, should I just have them go and find these organizations and donate, or is it more of kind of what you're saying, more going out and picking up trash and doing it more of a hands-on type approach?
So that's kind of an issue that we're all trying to figure out is how to bridge the gap between hunters, anglers, and outdoor recreationists.
Mm-hmm.
So education, letting them know, educating them about rules and regulations about hunting, letting them know it's not just like a free-for-all out there where we're
just shooting everything.
Killing stuff just to kill stuff. Like most of us that hunt do it for the food and
right.
do it for the camaraderie and stuff like that. It's tradition, it's heritage, especially in Illinois Midwest. It's been a hunting tradition for forever.
Yeah.
So educating people on that, kind of explaining, hundreds of dollars pay for all this stuff. There's a 10% excise tax on hunting and fishing equipment. You might have heard of like the Dingell-Johnson Act,
mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So back in the 50s or 60s, hunters and fishermen agreed to pay more in taxes themselves on hunting and fishing equipment to pay for wildlife conservation, stuff like that.
Right.
So we agreed to that back then. There's talk of like a backpack tax for outdoor recreators, mountain bikers, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That they, maybe pay some percentage on, mountain biking equipment or backpacks and stuff like that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. We would love for that to happen. We would love for them to step up and be like, yeah, hey, you guys hunt out here, fish out here, we climb and mountain bike and stuff. We all need to, chip in and save this stuff for all of us and our kids and stuff like that.
Right.
But education is, I think, the biggest thing. There's so many people, even from where I live, it's rural, that they don't get that $100 and duck stamps and licenses and all that, and how much money that is generated for hunting, fishing, conservation, wildlife conservation, habitat conservation, stuff like that. A lot of it, I think, is an education problem.
I think that's a good place maybe to attack. Maybe is letting people know that it is hunters and anglers that are funding most of these efforts through their tags and through their equipment and things like that. Because I can tell you most of the people I talk to have no idea that that's the case, and they think it's through some other means, but. It blows people away when they hear that hunters and anglers are actually the predominant funders of land conservation and keeping things accessible to everyone. And it's interesting to me that they have no idea that that's the case. But that might be something that we continue to work on and hopefully keep that message going. So I guess to kind of transition to a lighter side of things. The Illinois chapter of the BHA has been around, like you said, for a couple months now. How do people in Illinois, or I guess around the country, join, and what kind of events can they expect from the BHA, or what comes with being a member and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so like I was telling you, the Illinois chapter is doing really well. The last I checked, we have almost 550, we have 549 members.
Wow.
In Illinois.
Yeah.
So we are like number 16 out of all of the BHA chapters, 16, 17
Mm-hmm.
in total members, which is kind of crazy when you think of all the Western states. So we have a huge, motivated group that is willing to help and volunteer and do all the things that we need to do to be an awesome chapter.
Just a matter of mobilizing and getting people to the events and making sure that they're aware of things that are going on and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And until we became, quote, official, our hands were tied a little bit on some things. But
Mm-hmm.
now we just had a hike to hunt event at Star Rock last weekend. We had a good turnout. Did a nice little hike in the morning. Follow on the social media of Illinois Backcountry Hunters and Anglers on Instagram and Facebook. And I would say follow as many other states as you can too, just to see how it's crazy how many events and how much stuff goes on that DHA volunteers for and has pint nights and storytelling events, and pretty much anywhere you go in the country you can find something DHA related to go to.
Right.
We plan on being at Deer. We will have a booth at Deer and Beer Fest next month in Bloomington. We're planning a pint night for that Friday night before. Let me look. I believe it's August 22nd. 23rd. August 23rd, we'll be having a pint night at D Still Brewery. I am in talks with hold on. I'm in talks with Kelly Pearson from the Forest Service and Shawnee National Forest about volunteering and helping them out. We talked about helping them get rid of some invasive plant species. And I told her we're willing to do whatever you guys want us to do.
Right.
There's a lot. I think we're going to have a booth at hunting and fishing days down at John A. Logan coming up soon. But all of our stuff is available on our social media stuff platform.
Yeah, and I noticed you have a pint night coming up in our neck of the woods up in northern Illinois in Elmhurst on the 24th, right? Which is my birthday, so I will be there.
Perfect.
And I told my wife she has to come because it's my birthday and she has to do what I want on my birthday.
That's awesome.
So she will be there as well. Hopefully I can get her in it to be a member at some point as well. But I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be my first BHA event, so I'm excited to meet everybody and hear some good information and some stories and meet some good folks and that sort of thing. So really looking forward to that. I guess on more of a personal level, I always kind of like to wrap up with if you have any hunting or fishing trips that you're excited about, either now or coming up into the next season or sometime in the near future.
Yeah, just to backtrack a little bit about the Chicago area.
Sure.
One of the most surprising things to me, getting this chapter started, was how many members we have in the Chicago area. We have a huge contingent in the Chicago area, and then it's like filters down through the rest of the state.
That is surprising, actually. I would think it would be more southern Illinois than anywhere else.
And I don't know if that's because there are people, because we have some board members that aren't from Illinois that live like you know, you're from New Jersey, that moved up there. That I don't know if that's what it is, but we have a good contingent where I'm from, around our area, southern Illinois, Peoria area, Bloomington area, Champaign. I mean, it goes through the whole state, but it really, really surprised me how many guys are from, or not guys and gals are from Chicago, the Chicagoland area. I went to school at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, so a lot of my friends that I went to school with were from Chicago. None of them hunted.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got the Illinois chapter going, it really, really surprised me that I would say most of our members are from up there.
That is really surprising. I wonder, and I guess hopefully I can talk to a few of them when we go to the pint night in Elmhurst. It's Elmhurst Brewing Company, right? That's hosting it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can talk to them and figure out maybe a little bit about how they found the organization or why they're members or something like that, because I feel like people sort of come out of the woodwork when you host events like this, and it'd be interesting to see, you know, what they're in it for, if it's more for the land conservation or if it's more for the hunting and fishing aspect of things. But that is interesting. I would not have guessed that Chicagoland area would be where most of the members are from, but it's kind of nice to hear.
We had our board member, actually, Chris Brenner, actually map out on a map for us to see, like, where everyone's from.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority are from up there. So that's awesome. And that's the thing about BHA. Everyone's easy to talk to. Everyone's super willing to help. Everyone has awesome stories, experiences, knowledge, and not just, you know, the people from Illinois. I just went to my first rendezvous in Boise a few months back, and same thing. There's people telling you, hey, come out here and we'll take you hunting, we'll take you fishing. It's just a great group of people that care about clean air, clean water, public land, public water access. As taxpayers, we own 640 million acres, so we want to keep it that way and add to that if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not making any more dirt, so we need to care about what we got and definitely take care of it. So it's just a great group. It's very laid back, very smart, and very motivated to tackle the problems that we have.
Which those are exactly the type of people you want to do that, right? I mean, the more...
Yeah, absolutely. We have a great relationship with other conservation groups. It's for $25 a year. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. Even if you never hunt or fish, if you care about drinking clean water, breathing clean air, it's definitely important.
Then you get an awesome publication and a bumper sticker and a regular sticker if you donate, which is a nice little perk.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And I'm not sure if the Meat Eater's still doing the promotion, but used to, if you signed up through the Meat Eater, you would get a free public landowner shirt.
Oh wow, that's cool. I mean, they've done a great job in talking about BHA and being advocates for it, and I'm sure, like you, there's a lot of people that found it through them. I found it, I think, I found it first through someone that was involved with TRCP, and they recommended me looking at BHA first. But the community itself has been, at least in my short involvement with it, has been super helpful, and very collaborative across different organizations and everything, which is really nice to see because I was a little worried that, since they're nonprofit organizations, that they'd be fighting over, donation money and things like that. But it seems like everyone's pretty collaborative and working towards the same goal and that sort of thing. So I was very impressed to see that, honestly.
Yeah, I am too. And I don't even think I mentioned the BHA is the fastest growing conservation group in the country. So we have great leadership. They help. They give us motivation. They're just there for anything we need. I think we added 8 or 9 new chapters at Rendezvous.
Wow.
So there's only a couple, 3, 4, 5 states that aren't yet, and they're definitely working on that too to get every state a chapter.
Well, hopefully every state eventually will be there, and there'll be a good movement to make sure we're keeping things the way that we want to keep them. And that's a big motivation for me. Is I plan on starting a family in the near future, and I would love to have my kids and their kids to enjoy the same level of access to lands that I might have, if not more. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, same here. I don't have kids yet, but I want that to be there for my kids, or for their, your kids or whoever. I just want it to be there, even if I never go there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I just became a member of Wild Sheep Foundation. Couple bucks a year or whatever. I might never hunt a wild sheep ever,
Right.
but I want to know that it's there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want to go wild sheep hunt, I want to know that they're there for you.
Right.
So it's just being involved, educating yourself a little bit, because the issues that all these good conservation groups are tackling are very, very important to wildlife, to habitat, to fish, to clean air, clean water. So I keep going back to that because that's kind of the basic thing to me, that we all have to have clean air and clean water to live. So without that, nothing can thrive. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a great mission. It's a great way to think about things, and thinking about helping your fellow man, and making sure that things are there for future generations. That's a big reason of why I joined as well. So want to thank you for chairing the Illinois chapter, and then I guess like I mentioned previously, you have any trips coming up that you're excited about in the upcoming season?
I don't have any crazy Western trips planned this year. Dove season opens September, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. I've just seen a lot of the doves around where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
so that makes me excited. Been shooting my bow. It's at the shop right now, getting tuned up. Getting ready for October 1st.
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I'll be in the woods pretty much all October, November, half of December probably with my bow. Hopefully next year I'll be going out west somewhere to maybe try to get an elk or something like that.
Yeah,
I've been consistently putting in for the Kentucky elk tag. It's a tough one to get, but it's so close that that'd be sweet. Not that much to get in.
right.
So I suggest putting in for that for everyone.
Yeah, my co-host Kyle, who's not here today, his wife is from Kentucky, so he's tried the last couple of years with no avail. I tried this year with no luck. It's a tough one to get. I think there was 900 tags given out and 70,000 applications or something like that.
Wow, I didn't know there was that many. It's good though. They have the biggest elk herd east of the Mississippi. So
That's right.
Hopefully that other states will see that it's a revenue generator, European contact.
Right.
So,
And the thing that I was saying about that with Kyle was that, even if we don't get a tag, it's still, I think it was $35 or something for an application, and 70,000 people with $35. That's awesome for the effort of keeping up the lands and keeping the herd healthy and making sure that there's more resources for everybody. And like to your point, if we can continue to get people to do that in other states, I mean, it's only going to be a benefit to everyone. I know West Virginia has some elk there. You're not allowed to hunt there yet, but they're working on it. And I mean, even I can only imagine, even if they opened it up to 200 tags or something, that you'd have a boatload of people that are applying to hunt there. So I think the efforts are going in the right direction, at least. So I think it's only positive from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Missouri almost has a huntable population. So I'm not sure if Illinois ever will get involved in that. I wish.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that. But the more we educate people, the more we kind of let people know that we're not just going out hunting and taking resources. We're actually putting more back in than what we take.
Way more than we're putting way more in than hunters are taking.
Absolutely, 100%. So I think, and a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people just, and I don't think that it's necessarily their fault. I think we have a responsibility ourselves to explain it to people.
Mm-hmm.
To explain that, hey, I don't want to eat meat from the store all the time if I don't have to. And explain management and wildlife management and why there needs to be hunting for the health of a deer herd or the health of whatever population of animals you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's so few natural predators anymore that we end up having to be those natural predators, and it's just the food chain. You need that to have balance with all these things. So it's a good way to think of it. But I think that's probably a good place to wrap up. You want to tell everyone sort of how to follow BHA, either nationally or in Illinois?
Yeah, so Facebook is backcountryhuntersandanglers.com. It's the national chapter, or national page. Ours is Illinois Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And then on Instagram, we are IL_BHA. And same with the national chapter is Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Like I said, I follow pretty much every chapter, or if not every chapter, just because you can see like all the awesome things that guys in Montana are doing, or guys in New England are doing, or guys in Tennessee, or Missouri, or California. I mean, there's so, it blows. It's almost like there's a pine night every night somewhere in the country.
Right.
So that's a cool thing. The BHA family is amazing. Everybody's super nice, super helpful. If you get a Montana BHA page or a Tennessee BHA page, and you can message somebody and, hey, I'm coming down to Tennessee. Where can I go fish? Hey, I'm coming out to Montana. What should I do to hunt?
Right.
An elk or mule deer or whatever it might be, and somebody's going to help you out.
Yeah, it's a great, seems like seemingly tight-knit community. I'm really excited to be newly a part of that and go to my first pint night coming up on the 24th at the Illinois. Are you going to be at that one?
I'm going to try to be there.
All right. Well, I hope that I see you there. And everyone listening, make sure you give these guys a follow. And if you have the means, which is not much, to be honest, I would highly suggest becoming a member of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I'm really enjoying all the information and insight that they're providing. And Seth, I just want to thank you for taking some time today and talking with us and educating everyone for what BHA does.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Atypical Hunter podcast. Please remember to like or subscribe on any of the social media platforms that you find us on, which are pretty much all of them. And make sure you are following us on wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, thank you for listening.